So in today's video, we are going to be discussing if Justyn Ross is going to be making the Chiefs 53-man roster. Now, before we get into the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's jump right into the video. So the Chiefs had their offseason workouts going on, and Justyn Ross made this spectacular catch, and it really got Chiefs Twitter buzzing. It really got a lot of people talking, a lot of people very excited about Justyn Ross and his potential in the NFL. So I wanted to just talk about and give my thoughts on if Justyn Ross is going to make the 53-man roster. Now, with this pickup of Justyn Ross, he was an undrafted free agent this year in this year's draft, and it came down to injuries. But right out of the gate, a lot of people were saying that this is going to be an absolute steal for Kansas City. The fact that Justyn Ross went undrafted and the fact that they were able to pick him up in the free agency period after the draft. There was a lot of potential that this was going to look like an absolute steal for the Chiefs, especially because I think the Chiefs at the wide receiver position are in a really good spot because Brett Veach at the wide receiver position had a very, very good offseason rebuilding that wide receiving core after losing Tyreek Hill. And the rest of the other wide receivers, Demarcus Robinson left, Byron Pringle left. So I think Brett Veach did an unbelievable job rebuilding that wide receiving core. Like, it's starting to get the vibes of what he did to the offensive line last year. It was an offensive line that was bad in the Super Bowl and struggled during that game. Did an entire offseason of fixing the offensive line. He did it in one offseason, and he's kind of what he's doing with the wide receiving core, if we're being honest. And if we look at the moves that Brett Veach made this offseason when it came to the wide receiving room, and a lot of people are excited, myself included. I'm very excited because this offense that Kansas City is going to be running this year is going to be something that we probably haven't seen ever before with Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback. Because in my personal opinion, as a fan and watching this Chiefs, this offense with Patrick Mahomes really just felt like it was more of a, sling the ball deep and a speed offense, letting Tyreek Hill make plays. And there was nothing wrong with that. It obviously worked. They went to 4 straight AFC championship games, hosted all of them, went to 2 Super Bowls and won one. So obviously the offensive style that they played wasn't that big of a deal because it was obviously working because they had Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback. They had Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. But with Tyreek Hill gone, Brett Veach obviously had work that he had to do. And there's no denying, what Tyreek Hill brought to the field. That's going to be nearly impossible to replace. But I think Brett Veach did the best possible job he could have, and I don't even think it's the best possible job. I think he did a great job with the wide receiving room, because if you look at the guys that he did sign, Juju Smith-Schuster, who feels like he's been in the NFL for a million years already. He's only 25 years old. He's an insanely talented wide receiver. He's a big physical receiver, and that's what I'm talking about with the shift of the offenses. It used to be a speed offense. Now we're going to have big-time receivers, guys that are huge, guys that are going to be physical, guys that will, knock your teeth in, run you over. And Juju is a very big wide receiver, so he's going to bring a different aspect to this offense that we've never seen before. And I think Juju was the key in shifting the way that this offense is going to be ran. And then they signed MVS, who obviously isn't going to be Tyreek Hill's replacement, but he has unbelievable speed for him in his size. MVS is also a very big wide receiver, and he's going to be our big play receiver. When he was in Green Bay, that's all MVS did. He was a big play receiver, and he was constantly blowing the tops off of defenses, it felt like. I think in his career, he had over 17.5 yards per reception. So if the Chiefs are down, because remember Kansas City, it's 3rd and 25, and a play's not, and for most teams when it's 3rd and 25, 3rd and 27, a drive is over for them, and they just kind of run the ball, run a draw, and end it. With Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid at the helm, that has never been the case. So MVS averaging 17.5 yards per reception. The Chiefs and their third down offense is still just as wide open as ever, and that's what I really like about the MVS signing. I think he can blow the top off of defenses right now, just first and second down, but when we get into those third down situations where the Chiefs still have a chance, like I said, most teams it feels like their drive's over. The Chiefs no drive is over until they actually have to punt, because 3rd and 25, the playbook is still wide open for Kansas City, and I think MVS can fill that void of needing a big play on a 3rd and very, very long. And so I think MVS, he's going to fit this offense perfectly. But then you look at the draft. They drafted Sky Moore, who has unbelievable potential, unbelievable talent. His comparisons were Antonio Brown. Whenever he came out of the draft, he's a guy that may not be the fastest, but he runs his routes very well. He gets himself open. So, even if he doesn't have game-breaking speed, it looks like Mahomes is just going to have a whole bunch of weapons that are getting themselves open all the time. So that's going to be very, very fun to watch. I really like the potential of what Sky Moore brings to the offense, because he's not going to blow you away with speed, but he's a guy that can get himself open. And as the result of that, he had really high production when he was in college. So that's going to be a really, really good draft pick for the Chiefs, I think, because if he can bring even a resemblance of his ability to get open and his ability to produce like he did in college, he's going to be a threat week in and week out on the Chiefs offense. And then we have to look at the guys who are still there. Obviously, Travis Kelce, the best tight end in the NFL. Like, what is there to say about Travis Kelce that hasn't already been said? He's constantly getting 1,000 yards. I think he's done it 6 straight seasons. So Travis Kelce, best tight end in the NFL. He's still our #1 receiving threat, even as a tight end. So I know we lost Tyreek Hill, but in a way, we still have our #1 receiving threat. So I'm still happy about that. Obviously, it's Travis Kelce. What else do we have to say? But then we have Mecole Hardman, who you can make an entire video discussing Mecole Hardman and his expectations for this year, because I think his expectations are higher than they ever been in his career, because in a way, Mecole Hardman is now leading that group. Mecole Hardman has been there for a few years, and he knows the system more than any of these other wide receivers. So this is going to be Mecole Hardman's year to step up and make big plays. And I think the loss of Tyreek Hill in a way is going to help that, because now Mahomes isn't just going to have to rely on the speed of Tyreek Hill. Hardman has speed, but Mahomes has a litany of weapons to throw to now, not just Tyreek Hill and not just Travis Kelce. So this is going to be a really good year for Mecole Hardman to show what he has. And because this is a contract year for Mecole Hardman, it's a really good year for Mecole Hardman to step up, make big plays, and show his worth. And then maybe he gets a really big contract extension with the Chiefs and be a Chief for years to come. Which then leads to the purpose of this video, because as we just listed, we listed 4 wide receivers: Juju Smith-Schuster, MVS, Mecole Hardman, and Sky Moore. We looked at the receivers that are going to make the 53-man roster, but obviously that leaves a few spots open. So that leads to Justyn Ross. And will Justyn Ross make the 53-man roster for Kansas City? And to be honest, I do think he can. As we showed in the beginning of the video, that insane catch that Justyn Ross made. And I know it's an OTA video. I know it's an offseason workout video. But it really gets you thinking. It's because Justyn Ross had the talent out of college to be a first-round draft pick wide receiver, maybe a second round, at the latest. Because if you look what he was doing in college at Clemson, he was absolutely lighting up the college ranks. In his first 2 years in college, he had 112 receptions, 1,865 yards, and 17 touchdowns in 2 years. So his ability was off the charts. Like, he was doing great things at Clemson. And like I said, he was likely going to be a first, second round pick had he not gotten hurt. Now, him getting hurt is obviously the reason why he fell to an undrafted free agent, is, his spinal injury, his foot injury, that scared teams. And taking him early in the draft is obviously a huge risk, especially with a guy with that many injuries and at a position where there's a chance you're going to get hit a lot during football games. And so obviously not a lot of teams wanted to take that risk in the draft itself, but the Chiefs took a chance of him, and it's not even a huge gamble. Justyn Ross, if it doesn't pan out in the NFL, it's not really a huge loss for Kansas City. They gave him a chance. It didn't work out, and the Chiefs didn't lose anything because of it. But if the Chiefs and Justyn Ross do end up working together, it's going to be the biggest steal probably of this entire draft, and it didn't even come in the actual draft itself. It came because no one wanted to take a chance on him in the draft itself, and he landed right into the laps of Kansas City. Because like I said, he had the talent out of college to be a #1 receiver, and because of injuries, he wasn't able to do that. Now, because he is an undrafted free agent, he didn't get taken in the draft, the expectations for him, the chances of him making the 53-man roster, I think, are a bit tougher than the rest of the guys that are already there, just because of the fact that he was undrafted. He does have to prove himself. He does have to put in the extra work. He does have to show more than these other guys, because he wasn't drafted. They have to make sure that the injuries aren't going to be a concern, because that's the one thing, is if Justyn Ross makes the roster and then the injuries become a concern again, that's really what's going to hurt the Chiefs. But he was cleared by every doctor. He was cleared to play football, which is a really hard sport to play. I just think that Justyn Ross will make the 53-man roster, and I think the Chiefs like this guy from the beginning, because obviously, even undrafted, you have to like a guy to want to bring him in. And I think the Chiefs like Justyn Ross. I really do, because Brett Veach has that ability to sniff out talent that isn't taken. And obviously they see something in Justyn Ross. And I know it's just one catch from OTA, and I know we're really hyped, but that one catch is just showing us that, hey, they're showing Justyn Ross. They're giving Justyn Ross the spotlight. So obviously somebody in Kansas City loves Justyn Ross. And I really do think that if he can fight his way through OTAs, prove himself in the offseason workouts, prove himself that he can be a capable NFL wide receiver, he's going to make the Chiefs 53-man roster this year. And if he does make it, and he brings that potential that he brought out of college, he's going to be making a ginormous impact on this Chiefs offense. But those are just my thoughts on the Chiefs offense, the Chiefs as a whole, Justyn Ross, and his possibility of making the 53-man roster. Like I said, it's going to come down to injuries. Can he stay healthy? That's just the biggest concern with Justyn Ross right now. We know the talent is there, but give me your thoughts on Justyn Ross. Obviously, we're all Kansas City fans. Obviously, we're hyped to see this guy. We literally cannot wait for the season to start, but that's just my thoughts on Justyn Ross. Give me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one.